At last, we play a Kong game on Nintendo that doesn't have Donkey in it. Donkey! King Kong 2, Ikari No Megaton Punch, or Furious Megaton Punch. Released in 1986 for the Nintendo Family Computer from Konami and based on the 1986 film King Kong Lives, which involves King Kong getting an artificial heart and going after his lady love who's been captured by some bad people. He has to go save her while also delivering some collateral damage in the process. King Kong Lives is the sequel to the 1976 remake of King Kong and is not often highly regarded as a film, but I don't know, I kinda like this one. Sure, it's a bit dull at times, but other times it's absurd, it's schlock, and it's adorable. So yeah, I gotta be honest, this one has its moments for me. Now, King Kong 2 on the Famicom, King Kong 2 being the name that the film was released under in Japan, presumably for licensing reasons, never got a localized release elsewhere, and there's a part of me that feels like we might have missed out here. King Kong may or may not have been a hip thing with the early NES generation, but at the same time, had I seen this at a video store for rental, I would have given it a shot. Play as King Kong, big giant ape tearing shit up? Why wouldn't you want to play a game like that? And I'll tell you straight up, I'd much rather be playing this Kong game on the Famicom than either of the Godzilla games that would grace the system years later. So in the battle of 8-bit Nintendo supremacy, Kong stands strong with just one outing. Now that having been said, King Kong 2 is a game with issues that does put a damper on the fun factor a bit, but let's dig a bit deeper, shall we? King Kong 2 has you taking control of the eponymous King Kong, who, much like the movie this is based on, is out in pursuit of his lady love held captive by some bad people who deserve to be smashed. The game plays out in an overhead action game where everything is divided up into single screen segments much like Zelda or Metal Gear, but nowhere near as deep as either one. Kong can punch things, he can jump and actually has a decent amount of air control, he can stomp on things to crush them, and he can also carry a number of rocks to throw at other things. At first glance, King Kong 2 seems overly simplistic. You move around this terrain, you punch things, you avoid falling into pits, collect the occasional power-ups like speed-up potions, rock power-ups, and other things that last for a short while, but then you start smashing things and you come across these doors hidden within the rubble. Enter these doors and you'll find rooms containing other items like heart containers to boost your hit point count, as well as other doors that will take you to other worlds, and this is where the heart of King Kong 2 lies. King Kong 2 boasts 9 worlds to explore. However, the game is also fairly non-linear, so you're seeking out these hidden doors to warp to other worlds. The main goal of the game is to explore the worlds, seek out the boss monsters who rule over each world, and defeat them to claim their key. Once you've acquired 8 keys, you can access the 9th and final world where your final challenge awaits with Lady Kong in tow, all the while finding heart containers, rock bags, and other things to increase your chances of success, especially once you get to the later worlds where enemies are packing heat and the platforming aspects of this overhead game gets a bit more precarious. You begin the game with 100 hit points, 10 rocks, and 3 lives. Enemies will drop hearts to restore health and rocks to restock on ammo, but lives are earned every few thousand points scored or whenever you find moai heads that serve as 1-ups. Whenever Kong runs out of health or falls into the abyss, he loses a life, and once all your lives are gone, it's game over. No continues, no passwords, no save system via battery backup, not even a Konami code to ease the pain a bit. If you're to win this thing, you'll have to do it in one shot. And that's where things can get a bit hairy, as it were. King Kong 2 is a somewhat difficult game where you're expected to navigate these 8 worlds looking for hidden doorways in the scenery to warp you to different places in an effort to find the bosses to defeat to get the keys to access the final world. Your only tools are your fists, your jumping prowess, and your ability to toss rocks. You have no inventory, you have no map screen to lead the way, no indication as to where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do. While the first world is somewhat straightforward, later worlds are more maze-like. There isn't a time or place where I didn't think the game was just messing with me, particularly in the first world where you're mostly on a linear path until you reach a point with destructible elements that you clear from the screen. Once you hit the edge of the screen, you're warped back to the near start of the game, and that tends to be a bit disorienting. You'll also have to contend with some off-screen threats that will clutter the screen. Whether it's falling rocks or those spinning plates lifted straight from Xevious, King Kong 2 will occasionally dip into the tossing shit to a wall and seeing what sticks territory, which means having to take quite a few needless hits at times. Which also occurs when transitioning to another screen and emerging right on top of an enemy that will likely hit you not even a second in. It's these nagging little bits that makes King Kong 2 more frustrating than it really ought to be, and honestly it's too bad because there's a good idea here that has its moments here and there. I mean, King Kong sports some excellent control. It's straightforward enough to learn what does what, as well as fairly responsive, so there's no blaming faulty controls here. King Kong's jumping prowess is top-notch with solid air control, and hit detection can at times be a bit spotty, especially with the arcing rock throws, but it's generally functional. It's mainly the other stuff that could have used more work, or polish, or both for that matter. King Kong 2 is a fairly colorful looking game for something that was based on a movie that was anything but, let's be honest. The game adopts a more cartoonish vibe compared to the source material, which I don't mind. Some people might, that's on them, whatever. You've got a variety of scenery in the various worlds. Some look basic, others a little more involved in the detail, but not by much. Sprites are smallish, but comparable to most Famicom sprites for the time. Pretty par for the course as far as family computer graphical prowess is concerned. Nothing out of the ordinary. It looks fine. There's only a handful of songs that play during the game, a main world theme, a final world theme, a boss theme, and a room theme to go along with a bunch of jingles and stuff. The main world theme is a rather simple, somber melody that isn't too bad but can't get tiresome to hear after a while. The other tunes are only slightly more exciting and up to that Konami Famicom standard of quality, such as it is. And oh, by the way, you can press start while holding A and B on the title screen to continue in the last world you died in. I left this out in case anyone wanted to jump the gun and let me know about something that I already knew but decided not to mention because I can be a bit of an asshole sometimes. Overall, King Kong 2 Ikari No Furious Punch is a good game that could have been better had some faults been rectified. Making progress open-ended is not a bad idea, but making it so without any indication or clue on how to proceed is rather obtuse. Along with moments of tossing shit to a wall, there's aspects of King Kong 2 that hurt the fun factor a bit and make things more frustrating than they really need to be. But on the other hand, you're playing as King Kong wrecking shit. That alone is worth the price of admission. And also, almost everything's written in English anyway, so there's no language barrier here. If you're willing to put up with the mystery of figuring things out yourself and taking cheap, unnecessary hits from flying things out of nowhere, there's a fun time to be had with King Kong 2. But it all depends on your tolerance for bullshit. That's going to be the killer with this one.